Hey everybody, happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
I cannot believe another week has gone by. It goes quick, huh?
It went by really quick.
You all right?
Yeah, that was like a wasp that just went in front of us.
That's what happens when you sit up here with the windows open.
It was hot. I didn't want to sit here in the sauna.
Yeah. All right. Yep.
This is the highest level of the house, and it is the hottest level of the house.
It was a beautiful day. What was the temperature today?
I don't know.
85?
I was outside a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah. It was super, super nice today. I know not all of you are enjoying that same kind of weather, but anyway.
I thought it was a beautiful day.
Let's get some hellos in real quick, huh? Terminator says, happy Friday, Freedom Family from the Great White North. Still 4 feet of snow and getting more.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
What's the temperature there today?
Yeah, that'd be interesting, right? Greatest name on the internet
Half the Loft Club
is in the house, as is Jamie. Jamie, good to see you. Carrie Davis, hello, hello. Carrie says, greetings, Freedom Family. Big shout out to Tag, connecting us with Mike and Jen. Much gratitude. Mike talked my husband off a cliff. Well, if it makes you feel better, Mike's talked me off a cliff from time to time in my life as well. So.
Oh, look at that. That's a.
I was going to get it. All right, let's see here. Helen, Happy Harvest. Helen, welcome in. Gratitude to Grace. How are you, my friends? Jane Marie is in the house. Good to see you. Bessie, darling, good to see you. My off-grid buddy Nitos is in the house. Let's see here. Suzanne from Nevada, Missouri. Welcome in. My buddy Squatchy is in the house. I had some great conversations with Squatchy this week working on a project with Mike and Squatchy for a trophy that would be worthy of the community. And
that's cool.
Oh, we
for
had
what?
We
for the community. For what community? For what about the community?
For an event at the Spring Festival.
Oh.
And so we just had
that'd be cool.
so much fun. They had me absolutely laughing. But anyway, I'll show it to you guys whenever that day comes. Let's see here. Beth Emily, hello, hello. Harry Kent is in the house, as is Paula. Gypsy, what's up? King Jeff, Juicy, Hefty, Lefty, Amazon, Mud Dog, or Slick.
Yes.
He's in the house. Right. Lazy Loper, I hope you're keeping Squatchy squared away. Welcome in. ACM Homestead. Adam and Cindy, good to see you. David Strom, how are you, my friend? Yeah, Squatchy says, some great, well-needed laughs for sure. Oh, yeah, I was rolling. And I'm sorry, Squatch, I kept side railing it, but it was just hilarious to me. And all of the inside stuff was just cracking me up. But anyway, Dana Green, welcome in. Brian, what is going on, buddy? Brian says, good evening, watching you out in my new building while I'm working, making small progress every day. Well, that's how it is, right?
Congratulations on the new building.
Yep. Ryan, I hope you and your beautiful family are going to attend the Spring Festival on April the 11th. We'd love to see you. Edward Braden's in the house. Good to see you. Yeah, and Squatchy says side rail is part of the process. Yeah, it's definitely something like that, isn't it? Let's see here. Aljo and Barbara saying hello. Welcome in. Let's see here. Terminator says, Tag, it was 40 degrees Fahrenheit today, going down to 25 tonight. So how does that equate to Fahrenheit? Right.
So Celsius, you mean? That's Fahrenheit.
Oh, it's Fahrenheit. Oh, she said Fahrenheit. Okay. The 40's not bad. 25's not bad. Hey, there's my buddy Skanes Girl. Skanes Girl, how are you? We haven't heard from you in a little bit. I hope all is well with you. I know you're busy. I know they got you working a million, hours, but anyway. All right, babe, what you got on your list today?
Well, I'm sure that you guys are going to hear the cows over here because we've separated the
I got a picture for that.
boys and the girls. Oh.
Yep, skip that one.
Well,
she sent me the picture.
I had to.
You sent me the picture.
What about the water? I had to fill up their water over there. I don't know how big their water trough is over there. You got it from a auction.
It's 300 gallons.
Okay. So I filled it halfway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to take several trips of water over from the well over to the.
Well, you started carrying it in buckets, right?
Yes. Yes, I had 3 buckets I carried over there and in the back of the truck, and it kind of sloshed around a little bit, and then I pulled the back of the truck as close as I could to the fence, and then I leaned, as safely as I could, leaned over the fence so I didn't have to go into the paddock, and then just kind of poured it over the fence. And I was like, man, this sucks. So 5 gallon buckets, 3 of them in a 300-gallon tank.
Doesn't
And
do
there was some
anything.
there was some like green sludge at the bottom, and I thought, yeah, that's so sus. I hate that, but what am I gonna do? Because the hose the hose on the Kubota watering system was split from being outside in the heat and then the cold and then the heat and then the cold, and then, well, it split, the plastic did. So he went over there and just 3 minutes later said, y'all fixed. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I took a Ziploc baggie and I used like zip ties and like zip tied it all the way down, like as close. I got the zip ties as close as I could to each other, like around the broken piece of pipe, or broken piece of, what do you call that? It wasn't PEX. It was like PEX, but it wasn't PEX. It was softer, right? Tubing.
You guys, I got
I
to
used
tell you
so
something
many
funny
of.
about this.
I had the good zip ties too, and I used so many of them, and I kind of sucked because I was like, oh,
She
but I
spent
really need this water system to work. Even like Jen tried to water, and it was all spraying all over her, and she was like, ah! And I was like, use another zip tie.
Hey, real quick, welcome in, Kent. One step closer. Good to see you. No Lives Complete Without a
Pack rat.
and JCK Citizen Broadcaster. Welcome in.
Hello.
So let me tell you the whole story here, because B. So
I must have missed
she
some
right
story.
where the head of the pipe came in, right where you connect it, had a split in it, and water was spewing out of it. And so her solution was to take a sandwich Ziploc bag. I'm telling the story. I'm telling the story.
I was in the field.
Yeah. Okay. Sandwich Ziploc bag and zip ties around the bag, thinking that this would cause some level of fix that would allow her to water. So for those of you guys who don't know, the B machine is a Kubota. It's got a big tank in the back of it. She fills it with water. She drives around in the summertime and waters the plants in the air conditioning, or in the winter in heat, whatever it is. She takes water to the animals. It's this whole system that we put in. So she's like, it doesn't work. I'm like, okay, let me look at it real quick. And so with the tools that existed in her Kubota, I didn't have to go get any tools. I didn't have to go get anything. I undid the hose clamp, pulled the hose off, clipped the broken part, put the hose clamp back on, tightened the hose clamp down, and she was fixed.
Just a MacGyver.
It took her longer to plastic bag it in Ziploc and zip tie it than she'd have just fixed the thing to begin with.
Nobody's taught me that one.
Babe, you're looking at it. You're looking at it.
No, I wasn't looking
Undo
at it.
a hose clamp and pull it off. Clip it, stick it back on.
I saw it from a different point of view.
What point of view did you see it from? I'm glad to hear this.
One where a Ziploc baggie should be sufficient.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
One Step Closer says needs more duct tape. No, One Step Closer, it needs a hose clamp removed.
I didn't have any duct tape.
No, but you had a flathead screwdriver.
I did.
A pair of snips.
Yeah,
right?
but those were meant for trees.
And it worked just fine, didn't it?
I suppose.
Does it work?
You used it for that.
3 minutes. Fixed.
Yeah.
Just imagine if you'd have just done that to begin with.
I'm so glad you fixed it. I'm going to keep you around.
You guys, this was not even hard. Like, I understand when she says, hey, I need your help. I can't do blah, blah, blah. But this was literally take a flathead screwdriver, undo the hose clamp, clip a little piece of hose off of it. Like, I took an inch of hose off of it.
So the good news is next time I'll know how to fix a situation like that.
Mm-hmm. You didn't even watch me do it.
No, but I get the gist.
Oh my goodness. No, she don't. All bullshit. No, she don't. Nice try. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Stan, welcome in. You are crazy. Hey, Life with Mike and Jen. What's up, Jen? How are you? Good to see
Hey,
you.
you fixed the Kubota water system.
Yeah, and it took 3 minutes.
Perfect.
It took me longer to detach all of the zip ties and the plastic bags and shenanigans that B had put on this thing than it did for me to actually fix it.
That's true. I can't lie.
I mean, it was like 14 zip ties.
I tried.
in a sandwich bag.
Yep.
Oh, Jean
See, and it
McKay,
was
welcome in.
like I thought it was right at that theme, and I was like, "Oh man, this sucks." So I was trying to get it like the sandwich bag over both sides of that, clamp, and then a zip tie as close as I could on both sides of that clamp. Are you
Let's try that. Lazy Loper, is that better? I moved the mic closer to us. You have to let me know if that's better.
Now he's right on top of it.
Yeah, it's right there. So anyway, it was completely ridiculous. B could have absolutely fixed it. It fixed it in 3 minutes. But anyway, the good news is the B machine is back up operational.
Yep.
And you're back to watering, right?
Yeah. Without getting wet.
Without getting wet.
Which is so much more efficient, by the way.
Squatchy says, see, Tag, she tried making you a sandwich.
Yeah.
How come I didn't
I
get
just
a
go
sandwich?
baggy.
How come I didn't get a sandwich out of the bag?
I just used the tools that were in my Kubota.
Okay. I'm glad you got it under control. Jen says, what? I had a garden shower for nothing. Oh, yeah, completely for nothing. I mean, literally, Jen, it was take off a hose clamp, pull the hose off, clip an inch of it off, put the hose back on, put the hose clamp back on, and it was fixed.
Wait, Jen was there. She saw the whole thing. Like,
yeah, why you guys didn't...
She knows how hard that was. That was not an easy fix.
It was a very easy fix.
Not at that time.
It took me more to fix the jerry rigging you guys did than it did to actually fix the thing.
in all actuality, I'm the one that did the jerry rigging.
I blame Jen.
But
David said, would the plastic have been able to hold the pressure if you could seal it?
yeah, it did for quite a while. And
Yeah.
then it didn't.
Yeah, the problem is just sealing it. You could probably hold the pressure because it's not that much pressure, It's so that part I think would be okay, but water's one of those things, It finds a hole unless you get it in there really, really good,
Yeah.
Let's see, Edward said, I think you mentioned that you use lithium batteries. I have heard that it takes a special extinguisher for runaway lithium fire. Any advice? I have lots of advice. So first of all, lithium is a big, broad term. My batteries are actually nickel phosphate batteries. And so they're a little bit safer. But the truth is a lithium battery catches fire, you're pretty much just going to have to let it burn out. In the solar world, they don't use very often true lithium batteries. They're a subtype of, and they're, a whole lot safer. But anyway, let's see here. Gratitude to Grace says, what would happen if you hide all the zip ties? Then no trees get tied up. Then no...
I'll just go buy more. Those are so handy. Amazon's just a click away.
Yeah, B has decided she likes metal zip ties, and so she buys them, and she has big... she hoards metal zip ties, don't you?
I just have a baggie full. Just different sizes for different jobs.
You guys know, you got like a Milwaukee bag, that you get with tools. She has one of those full of zip ties that she carries around with her. Crazy. Jen says, dang, the plumber's wife failed. I should have looked too, huh? Yeah, it was a really,
Yeah, she really didn't, look at it.
It was a really easy fix. Really, really easy fix.
I don't know about that.
Well,
it was for you tonight. I mean...
Yeah, it was easy. Hey, Regenerative Orchards is in the house. There's somebody out trying to make a difference in the world. If you guys have not subscribed to that channel, make sure you go do. And also you learn a whole bunch about fruit trees. And if our paths ever cross, I'd love to have you out to one of our festivals and we could, do some tree trimming and give some talk.
Oh, no.
That'd be great. No,
It'd be like, what are you doing with this? And I'll be like, I don't have any idea.
Yeah, that's probably true. Nito says, my oldest son is coming out next week for 2 to 3 weeks to help hubby, and I am so happy. How wonderful.
Oh, what a blessing.
How wonderful. All right, I'm caught up. All right, babe, what else you got? Anyway, the watering system is fixed. B got to move water today. It was wonderful, all that good stuff. But sometimes critical path thinking is a wonderful thing. And if you just take a little bit of time to look at the problem, just look at it, the world will open up to you.
I did. I found a Ziploc baggie and some zip ties.
That's actually the part that amazes me the most is that you got close enough to it to wrap it in a sandwich bag and zip ties, but never anywhere in there said, oh, look, there's a little crack right there.
Nothing.
What if I just cut the crack off?
I probably saw the crack. I mean, this was it actually broke last fall, and then it, we didn't use it throughout the winter, but when it happened, I'm sure I saw where the crack was. I mean, I don't remember all of the details, but
Clearly.
I fixed it the best that I could.
No. You don't think you're capable of doing what I did today?
I mean, I am now
Okay,
because
so
I
it
can
wasn't the
stop.
best you could.
I probably could, if I would have watched you put the thing together, I probably would have been more.
So the problem is you don't pay attention.
I wasn't there. I mean, I saw what you did today. Kind
of. Let's see here.
Again, I kind of wasn't there though.
Love runs rapid. Hello, hello. Says, hey, Loper, should I bring up the ice maker machine and how to turn it on? Oh,
It's probably super complicated.
it's probably complicated turning it on, Squatcher. Your expectations, might be a little high right here.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Jen. There's the link for Regenerative Orchards. Let's see here. Regenerative Orchards said zip ties, Gorilla Tape, and a 5-gallon bucket can fix about anything on a homestead. Yeah, but a flathead screwdriver, loosening a hose clamp, cutting an inch of a hose off, and sticking it back on permanently fixes it. Right? You don't need any duct tape.
No, it worked.
Everything you had was there.
It worked way better. I mean, you did do a better job. You did a better job than I did. Good job.
Gregory Kissel's in the house, as is American Roots Farm. Hey, American Roots, what's up? Let's see here.
They were outside fixing stuff.
Yep, Regenerative Orchard said, would love to. I'll see how my schedule looks for this year or next. Yeah, so our next festival is April the 11th. The one after that will be July the 11th. And the July the 11th is a really cool one because it's where we do all the fireworks and all that stuff. But let's see here. Packrat says, I recently discovered stainless steel zip ties in one size at Harbor Freight. What's the best place to get an assortment? Where do you buy all yours at?
I buy them individually.
You don't buy them individually. You buy them by individual size.
By individual size, yeah.
Okay.
I buy like the 11-inch or the 18-inch or the 22-inch.
And where do you buy them?
All from Amazon.
Okay, got it.
I wish there was a different option that delivered it right to my door so I don't have to leave. Like I don't know.
Jen says time to add a variety pack of hose clamps to B's arsenal.
Yes, I think that. Or if I just knew where those things were in your shop, then I can just take them from your shop.
And I have a whole bin of hose clamps.
Probably.
I have a tote of hose clamps. I do. And you know what the funny thing is? They're labeled hose clamps. So really all you have to do is go in there and read.
Yeah, but there's a lot of space in there.
It's complicated.
You have Tetrised that place out.
A flathead is a minus. A Phillips is a plus.
Yes.
I don't care what you call it. You had a minus
I did.
screwdriver
Standard.
in your Kubota and a pair of snips, and we fixed it, right?
Yes. And it was great. And I am so grateful to have it because moving water with buckets is not as easy as using the Kubota.
No, you get to drive around.
Yeah.
You have a
With
radio,
a hose
air conditioning, and heater,
and a pump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lazy Loper says Squatchy needs to stop making up stories.
I believe it, man.
There's
He
no way.
seems like a storyteller.
No way. No way. No way. No way. I will guarantee you that there was some story in there where Lazy Loper got frustrated because she couldn't make ice cream and to figure out it wasn't plugged into the wall or turned on or something. There's some story in there.
He probably hit it.
We'll see how much courage
He
Squatchy
probably
has
hit the
tonight.
button.
Yeah. Anyway, what else you got?
Oh.
Since I made fun of you for
So
18
after the
minutes.
live, you have to help me remember to go out and close up the barns because it was pretty hot today.
Just leave them open tonight.
I don't know because something is okay. So the goat that's pregnant is in the barn panting, because it's hot and she's locked in a cage. I let her out a couple times today for her to run around, but when I let her out, she like headbutts the other goat, and I'm like, please stop that. I don't think you should be doing that right now. And she's like, no, I'm gonna sit here and fight for dominance as long as I can. And then she's panting and laying all like she can't breathe, and so I coax her into her stall and close her in there, and I just left all the doors open so that there's a nice breeze and she's in the shade. She's got plenty of water, but I didn't want to leave the doors open because up in the garden, MMR came over and we were up in the garden. There was 2 dead chickens up there. One was like white and mostly buried, like a dog found it and was like, oh, let's go hide this, and like put it in the walkway of the garden. and then the other one was up on top of the mulch or dirt, and it was like ripped open and the stuff eaten out. So like I have no idea what.
What does that have to do with leaving your barn open?
Well, if something is up eating
They're gonna come in. They're gonna
chickens
come in and eat your hay or your corn.
or my baby goat. I mean, my baby goat can't get out. He's like, what if it's a raccoon and it's got like hands and it's like, "Rawr, come
And
on,
you don't.
guys,"
And you don't
like
think
grabbing it.
You don't think the 5 open doors down the side for
Well,
the
he'd
stalls?
have to go in through the gate. It would be harder, I think. I think it would be harder for him to get in because it's not just like 2 big wide open doors. Although if I leave the doors open, then the dogs can get in there.
I love it when problems solve themselves. Jen says, "How much fun would a campfire in the woods story time be with Squatchy?" I would love that. Yeah, gratitude to Grace. Thank you for subscribing. Lazy Lope says, "At least B has her tools on her vehicle. Somehow mine always disappear. Maybe he took them to fix the ice cream maker." Lazy Loper, could that be? Let's see here. Gregory says, "No campfires here in Nebraska. About 75,000 acres burned since last
Saw
week."
that.
Yeah, I watched that. Yeah, crazy.
Do they know what started it? Fire.
American Root says that campfire with Squatchy and Mario needs to happen. That would be fun. Yeah, I'll videotape it. We'll post that stuff live.
Oh no.
Half Bubble Off Plum just subscribed as well. Thank you very much. Yeah, he's down in Tennessee, or at least I believe he's down in Tennessee. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure what zone that is, but yeah, campfires are always a good time. Yeah, well, I would recommend you leave it open because, well, depending on what the temperature's going to be tonight.
48
Oh, then close
is
it.
the low.
That'll be fine. You can close it because if the high was going to be 65 or 70, but yeah, Nito says on top of the mound could be aerial. Yeah, it probably is because it's the one thing the dogs aren't good at getting away from is the aerial predators. So that's probably what happened. And we have lots of hawks and eagles. We have bald eagles. We see them all the time here where we live. So I figure it's just part of the process. And if you're going to let your animals live free, they're going to live just like, a free animal lives in, Serengeti, and there's predators. It's part of the process, right?
Did you see that giant bird that launched itself off of the dam earlier today?
The blue herring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That thing is giant.
Yeah. They just eat fish, though. They won't bother your birds.
Mm.
So you'll be all right. All right.
That's
what else
good.
you got?
Pawpaw trees coming.
Mm-hmm. This weekend, right?
Yeah. You ordered some 25 trees.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna have.
I got 25 pawpaw trees for $50.
We're gonna have to figure out holes. If you can help me
I'll drill
dig
them.
up some holes.
Yep, I'll drill them.
Yeah.
I don't have my auger right now. It's over at the King's house, but
That's okay. I can keep them. I can get them.
Potted.
Yeah.
get them ready to go.
Uh,
Yeah, and
that's
hey, special thanks out to Emma Moore and Indiana Mike. I don't think they're in here tonight, but for going and getting a big load of pawpaw trees for the whole community.
yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that's super cool. Go ahead. What else?
That's it.
That's it on your front?
Yeah, you've got pictures that you're like, don't talk about anything that you've done this week.
No, I said don't talk about anything that you sent me pictures on already because I put them in the.
I know.
Do you guys see what I deal with? Who feels sorry for me?
I do. I feel sorry for you. That wife of yours.
I know, right? High wind blew over a power pole, and the Forest Service did a prescribed burn that got away.
Oh.
Got it. Let's see here. Dana Green says, "I saw a young blue heron the other day here in East Texas. It was awesome."
They are
Yeah.
pretty cool.
They're big, but they are beautiful. And Pack Rat subscribed to Regenerative Orchids. Excellent. Good job. All right. Well, should we get some pictures? You're gonna have to tell me what all this stuff is because I don't.
Yeah,
have
so
any
these are
idea.
okay, so picture number 1 is that's the sedum, but we had that cold snap that came through here last week and for 2 days, and it frosted over a lot of the things that are out there. So I'm not sure what that's going to do to fruit trees or whatever, right? The
Should you be
frosts.
clipping those back down?
Oh yeah, but I haven't been out there yet. So I just took a picture of it for you to see that it's green, but then like the top of it's all yellow and dyed back
This
because
is all
of
in the
that
food
frost.
forest, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the next picture is all those tulips that I planted. Look at there. So
Everywhere.
the hay blew off. You could see it's higher on one side
Yeah.
because the hay from over here went over there. So I'm gonna have to go in there and put some more down because we don't like open earth like that.
Mm.
But I plan to be out there tomorrow and actually probably for the next several days just to kind of get ahead of things.
American Root's still sorry for you.
I know.
Yeah, Packer
I
says
know.
she must love him.
Who, you? I must love you.
Well, it says she, so.
Yeah, I do.
All right.
Yeah, so we've got things growing
What's all
all
this?
over the place. That's the coneflower.
What's that one?
Those are lilies.
Sitting next to an apple tree, right?
Yeah. That's a cherry tree.
And a cherry tree.
That's the cherry tree that came in.
Yeah, nice. And it looks like that one will do pretty good. Doesn't have a bunch of bite marks on it this year, huh?
Yeah, that one we planted the first year we got here.
Mm.
That's one of those cherry trees that we got as a whip.
Mm-hmm. Not a whip no more. I'm hoping we don't get a surprise cold snap this year. Yeah, I was talking to the King today, and it's been like tomorrow is going to be in the mid 90s here, which is super rare. I don't remember another
For like the
March.
second day of spring.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't remember, on March the 20th having a 90-degree day. But either way, I was talking to him that it wouldn't surprise me a bit if we get another snowstorm still.
Ooh.
'Cause we've gotten them up until the beginning of May,
Yeah.
in the past. So that'd mess all the fruit up, wouldn't it?
Yeah. The trees.
Yeah.
It would hurt the production of them for sure.
Yeah. What do you got going
I've
on
got
here?
the
I know what those are.
the sweet potatoes are started. I have to put a little bit more dirt on top of that. That was in the process of doing it. And then the ginger in the little pan. And then I was able to put a row of sugar snap peas in the tomato row. So come later in May, we will put the tomatoes out in this bed. Well, before that, we put the peas in there to bring nitrogen to
Mhm.
the area.
So you got some planting done.
This is the first time I'm doing this.
Hmm.
It was suggested to me.
Let's see here. Frank's Bees, welcome in, says, can you eat tulips? You can't eat all the tulip, but you can eat, at least as I understand it, someone's out there's a lot smarter than me, but you can eat the petals, but I don't think you can eat, I think some of it's toxic, but I think you can eat the petals. Jen would be a great one in here to let me know that. Let's see here. Nito says, yeah, we are warm super early this year. Data says 80s today and 90s tomorrow in East Texas. Yeah, it's crazy that we here in Kansas will be
Warmer than
as hot
Texas?
or warmer than Texas. Yeah, crazy. Absolutely crazy. Look at that mess.
Yeah, this is the greenhouse. So in the wintertime, I fill these jugs of water and use them whenever I need to throughout the winter. And if they're empty, I have to store them in the greenhouse because they'll blow away. So all of these jugs, except for that one with the white lid on it that I just took in there for those trees, but everything in there is empty and I got to take everything out, fill everything up. Oh, that was another thing. I didn't break, Mother Nature broke the pipe off of the rainwater catchment off the back deck because he said, don't forget to empty the tank. And I flipped the valve or the switch that he said to, that's how you drain the tank. You just flip this switch. And so I did. I flipped that switch and walked away from it. And
It's
then
a valve, not a switch.
valve. I flipped the valve
There you go.
and walked away from it. And it emptied, drained all the way empty. Yay, me. I did it right. And then realized that I did not open the valve to the hose. So there's one piece of PEX that comes down from the junction into the sink area.
She didn't drain the faucet.
And it busted the PEX line. So I cannot use the outside watering system until
Tag fixes it. From Mother Nature failing to drain the water.
Damn that
correctly.
Mother Nature. Yeah. So this is the start of the greenhouse right here. This is the before picture where
Looks like a tornado.
where I've been stacking. I mean, all those pots in the corner there,
Mm.
those belong to Verna. I need to get those over to Verna.
Mm.
The trees in there, those are from Tractor Supply. I need to get those out of there. There's a trash can in there, for crying out loud.
What's this picture?
Those are snail rolls that Rebecca did. She came and helped in the garden. She came and said, "What can I help you with?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And she was like talking about how she did some snail rolls at her house. And so I was like, "Show me how that's done." And these are, I think there's 8 there. There's 8 different seeds that started in this. This time we used a dog food bag, and she just cut it in strips, laid it out.
Who's she?
Rebecca.
Okay.
Laid the strip out, put the dirt on it, put the seed on it, and just literally rolled it up and stuck it on a pan with water. And they just, the dirt is like right at the base of the roll.
Mm-hmm.
And so water it just takes what it needs, I suppose. I've never done this before, but she did it and it worked for her. Like in 2 weeks, she had seedlings started, and I was like, shoot, 2 weeks, that will help me.
Hey, and welcome in, by the way. It says Timu sells the assortments of stainless steel zip ties. And Jen says, let me at it. Give me the greenhouse chore. Done.
Well, you better get down here way earlier than what you were expecting. Maybe that 1 week should come right now.
Yeah, Frank's Bees says 97 degrees in Nebraska tomorrow. Hey, Frank's Bees, I was going to ask you, do you sell honey packages, nukes? Do you do any of that commercial, or you just raise for yourself? Just a curiosity. All right, what else you got?
Oh, look at that guinea. So when I walked over to feed the cows, because I have the boys separated from the girls now, I walk over to feed the boys, and there were like 3 guineas up on top of these poles. And the closer I got, they were starting to fly away. But
This is the food forest.
by the time I got my camera out, I caught one. But those poles are how tall? 8 feet?
8 feet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they're just sitting right up there on the top of that. Just, it's so weird to see them up there like that, too.
My goal was to put a full 8-foot fence. As you guys can see, I only have fencing up halfway. But this year, I'd like to get another row of fencing up top, which will really protect that food forest.
And fencing along the bottom. I got
Some
one row
chicken wire,
of chicken wire. I need another roll
Mm-hmm.
of chicken wire. This right here, the next picture, that's the goat that's getting ready to kid.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that's locked up.
And unhappy.
Yeah, she's unhappy.
Yeah.
And then you could see on the outside of her pen, so this is the open area, but yet they still want us to lay right next to each other. So there's the baby laying in, like, back behind that rail, and then there's brownies. They just lay right there, all together.
When I came home from working, I was at the mechanic shop today working on my truck. When I came home, that baby goat was sleeping in one of the cows' food bowls.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've seen her do that on the inside the garage or the barn. Yeah, she must feel safe in there. Maybe it's cool because she's been they've like her mouth is wide open and she's panting. I tried to get her. I took some water and just like rubbed it on her neck to like wet it because it's so hot in there. Thinking that might help. Brownie's already shedding her fur. She's got big like tufts of fur falling out.
Nito says, I forgot to send you a picture of the way I use teepee rolls. Yeah, make sure you do that. Gratitude to Grace says, I have struggled starting seeds. I will have to try the seed roll method.
Google it. Or YouTube it.
Yeah, Dana Green says, I saw the seed roll method. Very cool. Yeah, we'll see if it works. Right? I mean, there's often those things out there where it's, fishing lures designed to catch fishermen, not fish.
Yeah, well, if you already have a feed bag, any feed bag, because they like leak water, so you can put them in that. And
What seeds did you start? What kind?
There was 1 cauliflower, 1 Brussels sprout, some thing of bell pepper. Maybe there was even 2 bell peppers. There was 1 hot pepper, like a jalapeno. There was 1 that was eggplant. I don't know how many that was.
All right.
Look at this. This makes me so sad. Poor guys.
Why don't you tell people what this is? Because they're just looking
Why
at
don't
cows.
you? Go ahead.
So there's, we had to separate the cows, all the boys in one field and then the girls in another field, because the girls are pregnant and they'll be given birth in April or May, right? And so we want to make sure that they get good and dried up from their previous. So if you look in the background, there's a big black cow and two smaller brown cows. Those are the two babies from this year. That's T-Bone and Tallow. And Freeman's the big black one. And so we don't want them nursing anymore. We don't want them competing in any way. So we have to keep them separated now until they give birth. Right?
No, you can, like, they have to dry up. So it like takes a couple of weeks for them to dry up.
Okay.
And then once the milk is not available, then they won't get any. So they'll stop. I hope.
Let's see here. Dana Green says, saw it on Homestead Corner, Guinea. Her recipes rock, so I'm thinking she's good on this. Yeah, but right now it's a pain in the butt because all you do is hear them. They're bellowing. They're not happy that they're separated. You know, they're very social creatures, and they want to be together. And
Yeah.
we've separated them, so we're the bad guys.
Yeah. They're just calling out.
Yeah.
And I know we have to do it.
Yeah. Let's see here. Mario's in the house. Mario says, good evening, all of you really Homestead freedom fighting friends. Happy Friday to all. We are excited to see everyone soon at the Spring Festival. Yep, we're excited to see you. And thank you for hooking Carrie Davis and her husband up. I heard through the grapevine that you talked him off a cliff. Sorry, I meant to say groovy freedom fighting Homestead friends.
Groovy.
He said, really Homestead freedom fighting friends.
Really groovy.
Really groovy is what you should have said. Yeah, there you go. That's right. See here, Frank B says, I raise my own queens and my honey is gone before I extract it. Raise your own queens using the Hopkins method. It's very easy to do. Yeah, B's raised her own queens before. I don't know anything about the Hopkins method.
I don't know what that is, but I'm gonna write
And
it
we've
down.
bought packages and we've tried pretty much all of it, but I just didn't know if you did it commercially, and if you did, then I would do my best to plug it so that to try to drive, other freedom people to do business with other freedom people, right?
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. Some news in Kansas I thought you guys might find interesting is Kansas lawmakers are working on legalizing suppressors and sawed-off shotguns, which I think is fabulous. And before anybody goes on to say, why does anybody need a suppressor or a sawed-off shotgun? The fact is it makes them less effective, not more effective. It just makes them quieter, right? A sawed-off shotgun is less accurate than a non-sawed-off, shotgun, and a suppressor just makes it quieter. It doesn't really change its effectiveness in any way. It's just silly that we have these laws. But they are working on making that a law here, which I absolutely welcome. Kansas revokes 1,700 driver's license for being transgender. This was interesting as well.
What?
Yeah. So what Kansas is saying is that you have to have the gender you were born with has to be on your driver's license. Between me and you guys, I don't really see what the big deal is. I don't know why they care. I mean, I don't think we should have to have driver's license. So maybe that's why I feel the way I feel. But if they want to put whatever on their driver's license, I don't see why it matters. And I would love if someone could come up with a reason why this is relevant or why it even matters. Because again, for me, I can't really see a purpose behind why this is worth spending time in session debating and getting passed. I just don't understand why we would spend any time on it. It just doesn't seem like a big deal. Edward said Governor Kelly just signed a bill saying cell phones would not be allowed by students in schools starting next year.
That is so crazy.
Yep.
And they're even.
There you go. Look at that, Edward. Kansas bans students from using cell phones during the school day starting this fall. And I'm curious how everyone feels about this, because this is an interesting point too. I don't think kids should be using their cell phones during school. Obviously, they're there to learn, right? But at the same time, I don't know that it's smart that we get in a habit of normalizing the government being able to take your property from you.
Right.
And so,
Or dictating that they can or can't use a phone.
let's see here. Mario says, imagine you pulled someone over who said they were a woman when you were looking for a man.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't really know that I agree with that argument, because they're saying that I don't really see how that fixes the issue. So you find someone who looks like a girl and you look at their driver's license and it says male, they still have the same name, the same date of birth, the same. How does that? I guess, Mario, I don't understand. Elaborate into
Because
that a little
they'll
more.
be dressed up differently, is what
Yeah.
you're saying?
Yeah, but you're still going to get the same information. You're still going to get the date of birth. You're still going to get the name. You're still going to get those things. If you get into a car accident, knowing the sex of a person will be important if they must go to the hospital. Okay, I buy that. I guess a little.
Or what's if it's a bad accident, what sex the person's supposed to be?
Hmm?
If it's a bad accident, like if it's a bad accident, then they look at the driver's license and go, "Oh, that's who that is." Like,
Yeah, but tell me what. I understand all that, but tell me what that actually does for the victim, or for the person, or for the police. I just really don't see the huge benefit in it.
a way to
Edward,
identify
yeah,
them.
Edward says they should have them in their possession for personal safety. That's
I
another
agree.
great point for a cell phone use. The parents buy a cell phone for a reason. If I want to get a hold of my child, I want to be able to. And if there's an emergency, I want them to get a hold of me.
Well, and they use those phones for so much more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's the calendars in there, the school menu,
A lot of times the assignments are in there.
Mario says also there might be certain protocol that they have to go by for handling a woman versus handling a man. Why? Why is there a different protocol? I mean, with this, there have been this big push to that women are every bit as equal as to a man. A man's every bit equal as to a woman. Why don't they just get all treated the same? No pregnancy test makes sense. So if someone does get hurt, they'll know whether or not to do a pregnancy test. You don't think they can just look and find out they have a penis? I mean, I just think it's. I don't know. I don't know. If dude looks like a lady, then what is it going to change if anything happens? There's no relevance when it comes to anything governmental. That's kind of where I'm leaning on this, because men don't have boobs. Yeah, but so having an M or an F on your driver's license, tell me how that changes whether or not they have boobs.
Some men do have boobs and some women don't have boobs, and it's
Hey, Red Flyer Media, how are you? Good to hear from you. Says an accident, bone density, body shape, etc., does not make a difference in treatment. Yeah, I'm really just having a hard time understanding why it's relevant. I mean, I don't think a biological male should be using a restroom, a female's restroom. I don't. But I also don't think, I think people should be able to live their life according to their own
I
terms.
don't know, maybe there's some medications that you can't give to females or you can't give to males that are, you know,
I don't know.
that would be life saving, that would cause harm some way, make them infertile or make
Yeah.
them,
Gregory Kissel says a male officer cannot do a search on a woman. Why?
because they're all trying to feel them up. Like,
Babe, hold on a
oh,
second.
here,
hold on
do you have a
second.
gun in here?
Hold on a second. We got rid of those rights that you guys get to be princesses when we went through the whole women's lib thing.
that doesn't mean that we want to be felt up.
I don't want to be felt up by another man.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit different. With
I'd
your
rather be felt up
boobies.
by the chick.
You think
Give me a woman cop.
you think your boobies should be felt differently, or
I don't know.
so you would be okay with a cop searching me the same way they search you, is what you're saying?
I think that we're supposed to be equal, so it should be equal treatment. Yes, I think you should be drafted for combat too. That's absolutely right.
There you go.
They say that we say, hey, it's equal, then let's be equal. I don't know. Hippocrates Garden says because women are from Venus and men are from Mars. Red Flyer Meter says internal injuries, maybe. Like I kind of buy a little bit of that. That maybe there's some kind of differences, but I mean, again, discovering the gender of somebody. I guess maybe if they had transitioned and they've gone through all of that, then they wouldn't know, right?
I don't know if it looks different. Shoot.
Only two sexes, sorry, have a dangly or not. That's kind of where I'm at. Red Fire Media says, hi, Tag and B, waving at you from South Texas, waving right back. That doesn't mean a man can fill my crotch to search me. Why? They can fill my crotch to search me. So what the hell's the difference? So all of a sudden you want special rights? I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. Suzanne Fritz, hello, said at our school, the kids put their phones in a locked pouch as they come in the door. The phone is in their possession, but they cannot use it during school hours. I like that one.
Yeah, but what about during school? If it's a locked pouch, who locked it? Like
That's
if
good.
there's
How
a
does
if
that
there's
work?
a
Yeah.
if there's an emergency, I want them to be able to use it.
Yeah.
Call 911, call me, call anybody.
Let me see here. American Root says, yeah, I want the men of. She must have got mad and finished typing. I don't know. I'm conflicted on the cell phones in the classroom. Students distracted, teachers being filmed, schools are soft targets, all of that. Possibly sending answers by text. Again, all of
Yeah.
that. But I think I would love to have my child have a way to get a hold of me in an emergency. I think.
And then there's going to be kids that are like, this is an emergency. I need Taco Bell.
Yeah, Jen says, anytime I've been through a TSA or scanner that dings, they bring a woman officer. I'd rather have a lady do it than a strange man. Just my opinion. Only often so it makes sense to me. I'm not actually arguing that makes sense. What I'm arguing is you can't have it both ways. You don't want a woman in a manhole for weeks with men. Well, again, I also agree with that 100%, but I also tell everybody that men and women are not equal. So, we're uniquely special in our own ways, but we're a long ways from being equal. And I wish it would go back to that. But I think that if we want to make this stand of men can do anything women can do anything men can do, that whole bullshit, then it just should be even and across the board. Many medications are dosed or have risks associated with male or female.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, Jen says, I fly often and I'm not a feminist. No, I'm not accusing you of being one. All I'm saying is, maybe it's because I'm a guy. To me, whether it's a male police officer filling my crotch or a girl police officer filling I don't want either one of them.
Right.
It's the same thing. What's the difference? To me.
There's a difference.
No, I don't want to be sexually assaulted by a power tripping officer that thinks it's fine to fondle me. Call a female officer. What if the female officer wants to fondle you? How do you even know it's a female?
Some woman.
Maybe that's the argument for having it on it, so the innocent person can say, what sex are you?
Yeah. What's your driver's license say?
Yeah, Carrie Davis for the wins. At this point, just homeschool. See, Dana says, I'm okay with the search lingering is not okay. Gregory says, I'm just glad on my ranch the cows and bulls both know what to do. I agree with that. Gypsy says, dealing with the phone issue, I have to go back to old school. You have an emergency, you call the school. They have the student come to the office. Yeah, but if you go back to old school, Gypsy, like when I was in school, every truck in the parking lot had guns in the window. We never had school shootings. So if my daughter's locked in a classroom somewhere and there's a school shooting, I want to know about it.
Well, and if they forgot their PE shoes, just send me a text. I'll bring them, sometime before the day ends.
Just because the Democrat wants women's lib doesn't mean that real women think that way. I still respect the role of my husband as a man. I know you do. I spend a lot of time with you. Again, I just don't see what the difference is. But I'm also a caveman, so just to be fair. Let's see here. Instigator says, one help would be back to smaller schools where if a kid needs to get a hold of a parent or vice versa, there aren't 10,000 students on a 50-acre campus.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Suzanne says, back in the day, parents would call the school office and leave a message. The office would then send a note to that child at work, and people only called for important stuff. But that was also a time, again, before school shootings, before terrorist attacks, and those kinds of things. Frank Spees says, B, get this book, The Hopkins Method for Raising Queens in Your Small Apiary by Joe Conti. You already wrote it down, right?
I wrote the first part down.
You probably ought to write the author's name down.
Yeah.
That way you can know you got the right book. Yep, Gypsy says, I was talking about if there was an emergency at home and you wanted to reach her. Yeah, and that's obviously still an option. I mean, there's a lot of schools, around us where, a third grade class will have 15 kids in it. So it's not super big. But again, I think it all goes back to principle again, too. How much this lays on the laps of the parents, right? That if I bought my child a cell phone, I want them to get a hold of me, but also I want them to not use it while they're at school, unless there's an emergency, right? So at some point, I think parents have to own some of this too. Let's see here. They have restricted candy bar phones that don't have internet access on them that kids could use without any without having a way to cheat on tests and text each other in class easily. And Ryan says, at this point, I feel I shouldn't even have my kids in schools, but since I still do, I prefer for them to have their means of contacting me in an emergency.
Yeah,
I think it's
that makes sense.
yeah, I think it's the emergency issue, but I also think it's a property issue. And again, why do we expect teachers to raise our kids for us when we should be raising them? You know, I would expect my child, if I told them, here's a phone, go to school, but you better not turn it on unless there's an emergency, that my wishes would be followed. You agree?
Yeah, kids did that.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, this is happening in Kansas too.
Yeah, which stinks, I think.
Yeah, Leavenworth ICE detention facility opens in Leavenworth. And for those of you guys who don't know, Leavenworth has a federal penitentiary at it, Old Fort Leavenworth. And, you know, there's a lot of people like the Unabomber and a lot of who have stayed, Ramsey Youssef, who have stayed in them. But they, in the same place, they have now opened an ICE detention center and are now operating with 20, I repeat, 20 detainees. Let's see here. American Root says they can call and text from a smartwatch. They don't need a phone. Oh, good call. Yeah, well, I actually think if we go back, I think it mentions all electronic devices. Let me see here. It's just cell phones.
Yeah.
I think there's somewhere it said all electronic devices. It's not on obviously what I put in there, but update. Still working on my truck. I know for most of you, you won't notice the difference, but there's a huge difference between this picture and the picture of last week. I put a lot more on it, so I'm getting closer and closer to assembling it, which I'm very excited about. Why don't you tell this story, B?
This had a sock stuck to it, and I went and got the clothes out of the dryer, and I was like, well, that's weird. There's a sock stuck up there. And so I yanked on it, and it was all melted to the side of the dryer. So
Was it polyester? Because socks don't.
I don't know what the sock was made out of, but it was like, well, obviously some kind of plasticky. You can see like in the holes, there's like, it's like melted fabric. So, I sent this picture to Mario. Well, I sent it to his wife, and she showed him, and he said, "Is that a propane dryer?" He said, "Clean that off and let's reevaluate." But it was the sock that was stuck to it. Dang sock.
Gypsy says $30 million budget. They should be able to figure something out. Well, actually, just to be clear, you've got a $30 million budget at one of the schools. You've got a $19 million budget at another school and a $10 million budget at the other school. So if you count all three schools, you've got about $60 million in budget.
That's a lot.
Yep. Nito says close to a dryer fire.
Eek.
Yep.
I don't know, because Rebecca said that that's a normal thing.
I don't know if that's normal. Have you cleaned it off?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
I haven't done any.
Yeah, I'd get in there and clean it up the best that you can. Again, just a reminder to you guys that Great Plains Homestead Happenings is where we will post a lot of the community dates and events on. So if you're interested, make sure you go over there and follow it. And see, I changed it out.
I did.
Look at
Good
that.
job.
Yep. April 11th, the Spring Festival, and it's really evolving, and I'm having a lot of fun listening to it. I don't really have anything to do with it this year, as far as the planning goes, other than I've listened to some conversations and stuff like that from it. But it looks like it's going to be a good time, and there's lots of cool stuff coming. So the silent auction, there's packages showing up at my house. I don't even know what are.
Yep,
But-
I don't either. We're not opening them. They're
Yep.
not for us to open.
Yeah.
We are not the planning committee.
We are not the planning committee, so but it will be exciting. I look forward to seeing everybody. And from a kind of a personal note, I'm really looking forward. Let me get rid of this here real quick. I'm really looking forward to being able to hang out with the community a little bit. It's been a while. You know, we've had all of these political meetings, and it seems like every time we get together, there's business, and we're doing this, doing that. Just to have a day to just kind of relax and take a chill and eat some food and that. I think we're going to have more first timers at this event than we've had at
Any
of
of
the
them.
previous events, mainly because of our efforts on the political front. There's a lot of people who have contacted me that have said they're going to come, who wouldn't have come before, had all that, that
Yeah,
stuff.
which is really cool.
Yeah, that stuff kind of gone on. From a county perspective, real quick too, just so I tell you guys kind of, let me turn the light on. How's that? Whoa. From a county perspective, it looks to me like we have successfully stopped the solar farm. We'll see. It's not 100% yet, but if you guys remember in the town hall meeting video, 2 of the 3 commissioners said they no longer support it. Some of the planning committee meeting members are talking about pushing it off for a couple years and worrying about it at a later date and getting on to other things. So I think that there's a high likelihood that, just a handful of, people, redneck people from, the Midwest managed to push off a $1 billion company. But we'll see. I'll keep you guys kind of in post with, kind of in tune with that.
There are a lot of people involved in
a
that
lot.
effort.
Yeah, a lot. But it's funny,
Thank everybody for.
Those big companies that want the data centers and the energy plants and all that, they think they could come to the Midwest and it's just a whole bunch of stupid people. And they kind of misgauge that a little bit. 1, because they're not stupid, but 2, out here, seems to me they're a whole lot more willing to stand up and fight and get involved. So I think that's good. Also, one of the commissioners has called me and invited me to look at the proposed budget prior to them finalizing it.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, so
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't have time, but anyway, so we're gonna go sit down and do that and kind of go through that, and hopefully we can make some changes to the budget that will cut some taxes down. Frank B says, "You look younger with the lights on." See?
We should have started there.
So we've got that. Also, some really cool side effects that have come from the town hall meetings. I didn't really anticipate, but it's cool. It seems to me like more and more people are getting involved. I'm seeing more and more posts from different people, kind of standing up to the, to the stuff that's going on. Also other counties. There's a big push now up in Horton, which is a county north of me. And there's a warrior up there that's really putting it on up there and, really holding people accountable. And so we've got pretty much all the counties surrounding us now with some type of active movement to hold the elected officials accountable. And, I don't want to say that it all stems from our efforts here, but I promise you our efforts here influenced it. And so, I think that is, pretty neat.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And, ultimately what you hope is that, you get enough people active, you can then take your efforts to go fight a different fight. Because they got that one, you know what I mean? But I don't know.
It takes a lot.
Yeah, I guess we'll see, right? Let's see here. Instigator said, "It ain't over until there is a fruitless, expensive government investigation." Yeah, that's exactly what we need to pay for. Nito said, "I saw the results of a tornado tearing up a solar farm in Indiana." Yeah, it was interesting. Citizen Broadcaster's on here tonight, and as soon as that tornado hit that solar farm in Indiana, she was instantly posting it to the county commissioners and stuff going on around here, and making sure the planning board's seen it, and all of those kinds of stuff. And she's a warrior, but anyway, I think it's pretty neat that we're starting to make some ground indirectly, versus just all being direct, because it's exhausting to do it. We got out of the town hall meeting and we had an after action report, and a couple people are like, "Well, hey, so what's the next one? What are we doing?" I'm like, up to y'all. I ain't doing it. So
yeah,
I did this one, someone else's turn, because I got to get to farming. If we plan on having a crop this year, which is very, very important considering everything that's going on. Would you agree?
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that is going on.
Mm-hmm. And there is a lot going on, but the good news is for you folks tonight, it's all good news.
Oh no.
All right, should we do some good news?
Yeah.
You excited?
Yeah.
I know you are. Let me see here. I'm gonna give it.
This is the time that I get to find out what's going on,
what's going on in the world,
and
right?
then you can explain it to me, in English.
Right. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Trump recently was talking about how he's not obligated to Ukraine anymore. And I've been saying for a long, long time that there's part of me that just really thinks that what we've got going on is, leaders like Trump and Putin, maybe they're collaborating together to maybe stop some of this New World Order stuff. And you've got the nationalists, which would be the Trumps and the Putins, against the New World Order, which would be, like the Canadian government and the British government and all of those. And then you have we the people. So it's kind of like this, silent three, armied, war that's, kind of being fought. And so I kind of try to cover that because, again, I really think that it makes some sense in some of the things that we're seeing. Again, Donald Trump has once again stirred controversy by stating that the United States is not obligated to Ukraine. Someone should show him the Budapest Memorandum, this person says, where the U.S. committed to protecting Ukraine's territorial integrity and sovereignty in exchange for giving up its nuclear arsenal. If you guys remember back in the day, the Ukraine, after the fall of the Soviet Union, the Ukraine had a bunch of the Soviets' nuclear weapons, and so it agreed to give them up in exchange for America's defense of the country. And so once again, we kind of break the rules and break what we say, just like we did, with Russia, at the fall of the Soviet Union. Well, actually started way before that. At World War II, we drew a line and said, hey, we won't go any further than this with NATO. And then, Bill Clinton came and we went a little further, and the next president we went a little further, and now Russia's, completely surrounded. But back to the Budapest Memorandum of 1994. Under this agreement, Ukraine voluntarily surrendered the world's third largest nuclear stockpile. In return, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Russia provided security assurances promising to respect Ukraine's existing borders, which obviously Russia's violated that, right? Refrained from the threat of use of force against Ukraine, again, violated that, and provided assistance if Ukraine should become a victim of an act of aggression. So they agreed to do it. But now, obviously, Trump is saying that he does not have to fulfill that. Europe, on the other hand, seems to be going all in to defend Ukraine. And there's lots of rhetoric going back and forth that we can talk about that. John Solomon says that they've gotten their hands on intercepted intelligence that shows Ukrainian officials are trying to help Joe Biden with the 2024 presidential election using taxpayer-funded dollars. You guys have probably seen this a lot, but there's a lot of this stuff going on. Tulsi Gabbard actually has some of the Dominion voting machines now, and they're going through it. I don't know if it's for theater or it's real, but
Yeah, what are they going to do about it?
I mean, if you found out with 100%, certainty that the Obama administration rigged the election, that Biden won, that Trump really won it, I mean, I think then they'd be put in a position to where they had to arrest somebody, you would think. But I guess they know.
Well, they're not going to be able to go back in time.
I was going to say no, they don't, because they have the Epstein list. No one gets arrested.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, that we know of.
Trump says, bye-bye, Ukraine, you're on your own. The U.S. is not obligated to help Ukraine, as we already talked about that. We are working with them, Europe, on Ukraine. So Trump's now talking about how the only reason we were ever in the Ukraine was to make a deal with Europe and to just kind of help Europe out because of NATO. And this is really important because as we get to Iran, right? Ukraine is thousands of miles away, separated by a vast ocean. We don't have to do this, but we did it. Biden did it. I have to be honest with you. Biden was completely outmaneuvered, but we worked with them on Ukraine. We don't need to work with them on Ukraine, he stated. Yeah, Mario says, just because we agreed to protect them doesn't mean it's an open checkbook. No, but it means we agreed to protect them, right? And missiles and bombs are falling in their capital city all the time, and many other cities. Well, what is, protect? What does that mean, right? Dana Green says Ukraine attacked first, if I recall. Yeah, I think that depends on which side you believe. I don't believe any of them. Just saying. Let's see. What if China, Russia, and others are coordinating with the President of the United States to eliminate the New World Order? Prime Minister Mark Carney said, I believe the progress that we have made and the partnership with China. So this is Canada talking, right? The partnership with China sets us up well for the New World Order, unquote. While all eyes have been focused on Iran, President Trump made it clear that he is operating on a grander theater of war. He was actually quoted as saying that he's playing a complex version of chess. Trump exposes Britain's dying empire. Zelensky, the real roadblock to global peace. President Trump identifies Zelensky as the main obstacle to peace, stating that Russia is willing to negotiate while rejecting Zelensky's offer to help intercept Iranian drones, emphasizing the U.S. won't be drawn into endless conflicts. What? I mean, as we're over there, I find it interesting that, and I'll have this later on in the slide, but, you know, most of Europe declined Trump's request for help. Zelensky says he'll help, and America declined. We just told you who is blocking the peace efforts. In addition, the Russian Foreign Ministry directly accuses Britain of sabotage peace efforts in Ukraine, using British Storm Shadow missiles and attacks on Russian civilians as evidence, portraying Britain as Europe's informal leader of hawks and an inconceivable adversary. Read that again. Two great powers pointing in the same direction, and in the sound of the British imperial chessboard being flipped over. President Trump clarifies that American objectives in Iran differ from Israel's, with U.S. envoys instructing Israel to avoid striking economic targets like oil facilities to maintain stability, while Defense Secretary Hegseth echoes that the U.S. stays focused on its own goals. Zelensky threatens Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban's life, prompting condemnation from the European Union and even his political opponents in Hungary, highlighting his desperation and alienation within his own alliance. Russia and China abstained from vetoing a UN resolution condemning the Iran attacks on Arab nations, co-sponsored by 135 counties, signaling a break from old alliances and new era where great powers prioritize sovereign interest over ideological blocks. This is what I was talking about, right? The emerging New World Order, she argues that the U.S., Russia, and China are converging on shared interests such as stabilizing energy markets and lifting Russian oil sanctions temporarily, dismantling the British-led empire system of manufactured permanent conflicts. So the reason I read all of that is I think that there's a lot of things that goes on that supports this idea that the big three are, and I'm not totally sold on the whole China thing. I'm still kind of debating that, but in essence, the big three are saying, wait a second, with all this, immigration and wokeism and, all of this stuff going on all over the world. I mean, I could absolutely see Trump saying, hey, look, I'm going to take Venezuela and Greenland. You can have Europe, you can have Asia, and we'll just,
part it out,
and we'll stop all of this. And, they say that the enemy of my enemy is a friend of mine. I don't have any proof of that, but it sure makes some sense to me. Let's see here. We are calling for the Great Awakening of Nations. It's Q Day, and I believe we need to rewind and see what was said previously and what you see now. The future proves the past, said Putin. I need to get rid of our picture real quick for a second here so I can read that bottom one. The Great Global Awakening means people waking up to the fact that everything you think you know is a complete lie. They told you that it was a war on Iran. They lied. Israel is invading Lebanon. Iran is firing on the UAE. The Straits of Hormuz is closed. Trump is threatening to abandon NATO. This isn't a war. It's a global realignment. Right? Which again kind of leans to, what we've been talking about, right? Yeah. There are not separate conflicts. They are dominoes falling in line. A controlled demolition of the old world order to make way for a new one. The day the map, April 22nd, 2026, according to Mr. Poole, is the day the map will be redrawn. Putin says a new world order is taking shape right before our eyes. So I think he kind of, although I know it's super hard to believe, you kind of got to take them at what they say sometimes too.
Yeah.
So they're all kind of pointing at the exact same thing. Now, there's plenty to the contrary of that too. I can point to many of articles where Putin says America's a big bully, and China says America's a big bully, and America says Russia sucks, and blah blah blah. But and I can tell you from my own personal contacts, I know with a relative level of certainty that America's been planning to go to war with China for some time, right? And I was given dates, but I won't share those. But at the end of the day, I think it's really, really hard to tell. Netanyahu actually reveals the real reason for the war. We're talking about the war in Iran. It has nothing to do with nukes. He admits the plan is to build oil pipelines through the Middle East straight through Israeli ports, completely bypassing Arab-controlled straits. It is about money and control. Yeah, and so this is really important because what he's saying isn't that that all of the oil will come necessarily through Israel, although obviously he wants to build pipelines for some of it. What he's saying is he's going to control the money of it, right? And so basically you have to pay royalty. If this was to happen, you'd have to pay royalty to Israel for any oil to come out of the Middle East. You think that
Yeah.
the Arab nations would allow that to happen?
Right.
No way. Absolutely no way. Project Constitution had an interesting post that's talked about shocking. Netanyahu just went full mask off on live TV declaring Armageddon and the return of the Messiah. The end game is no longer a secret, the total annihilation of Iran to pave the way for the greater Israel. And remember that term, the greater Israel. You're going to hear this term, I think, more and more and more. They're already talking about it in several news channels. But this would be basically expanding the borders of Israel, right? Netanyahu is going off, signaling a global conflict fueled by a Masonic obsession that should terrify every person on earth. Netanyahu has transitioned from political leader to an apocalyptic architect. He is openly facilitating the destruction of the religion to force a prophetic return, and the data points are chilling. In a chilling appearance, Netanyahu just signaled the timing, cryptically mentioned the return of the Messiah, and specifically pointing to the Thursday deadline. The rabbi's confirmation, leading Israel, Rabbi Bronsblum, just backed this up, declaring that the Jewish, I can't speak Jewish, but will be announced this Thursday, the first day of Nisan. The Straits of Hormuz, the rabbi explicitly states that the final war to remove the head of the Amalek Iran will take place in the Straits of Hormuz, the exact location where Trump is currently fomenting international hostility. The job for Trump, the rabbi even joked about calling Trump to finish the job with B-2 bombers by this Thursday to awaken the redemption. These aren't just religious stories. They are being used as a tactical military manual. These bloodthirsty psychopaths are insane, and they are using American military might to trigger a biblical catastrophe. Crazy. Let's see here. Where am I? Why am I guessing you know Q from Topeka? He passed away. I don't know nothing. So AI everything? Yeah. Yeah. Jamie says Bibby's AI videos laugh out loud. Yeah, there is a lot with that. There's a lot of people, and I've been talking about oh, sorry, love runs rampant. My bad. But anyway, there's a lot of talk about him actually being dead. And there's a lot of videos. Like there's a video that shows him with 6 fingers. I showed you that last week, right? There's one this week where you can see his shirt on the inside kind of slide in and out. That kind of like it was AI. I have no idea, but Love Runs Rampant just cracking me up. I can speak Jewish. You mean Hebrew? Yeah, I mean Hebrew. Sorry. Terminator says, I just want to plant potatoes. I got 45 sweet potato starts and more starting on the potato. Let's keep trucking, huh? Let's see here. Russian news says the West crumbles under reality. India and China are buying. The European Union is begging for gas. The Gulf is calling for help. And now the U.S. Treasury has officially surrendered, lifting oil sanctions to Russia. Again, back to my original thought that, about them working together. And I know they just, they're saying that it's temporary because the U.S. Treasury says we've issued a general license allowing for the sale of Russian crude oil and petroleum products loaded on vessels. And obviously they're doing this because, with all the stuff going on in Iran, they need the oil because without it, you're talking about big economic trouble because there's a lot of places burning. For example, gas facilities in Saudi Arabia. It's over, folks. We're heading to major 1973 style energy crisis. There will likely be shortages and rationings, and we'll probably be moved to work from home, which what a great way to lock everybody down, right? If you keep your job. I think that, and I've been telling you guys this for 3 years on this live, that energy is where it's at. Energy independence is where it's at because it is so controlling. Depending on your energy, all of your energy needs from somebody else. I'm not talking about just solar. I'm talking about every piece of energy, right? Storing your energy in a tree or in the sun, right? I mean, how do you pump water? Just like today, we talked about this early in the live. B was dragging 5-gallon buckets over to water the cows, which is a lot of work. Versus
they drink a lot of water.
versus using your Kubota, which is what we set up for, all because of 1 inch of pipe needed replaced, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's about managing your energy. Cherry picking various lines from the Bible doesn't mean anything. They should probably read the entire passage in context. Okay, keep it trucking. Trunk's economic advisor Kevin Hassett just said the quiet part out loud. If the war were to be extended, it would really disrupt the U.S. economy at all. It would hurt consumers, but that's really the last of our concerns right now. They don't care about us at all. A crisis brewing in the U.S. as workers say they can no longer afford gas. A motorist in Arizona said that gas is $4.69, one of the highest prices per gallon that he's seen in 27 years. He has to save enough money to get to work and soon may have to walk. I find what's interesting about this is, wasn't gas $6 or $5.50 under Biden?
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that it was. And now people are saying, I wonder if it's how many of them are just paid actors. I don't know. In a major world crisis, the South Pars gas field, the single largest natural gas reserve on the planet, was struck by Israeli airstrikes. Let that sink in. The fire has now spread to Qatar's largest natural gas plant, the same Qatar that just gave Trump a $400 million Boeing jet. That's a picture of it actually on fire.
Yikes.
That we bombed, right? Let me see, I can bring us back in there. People are going to buy gas in places like Baltimore and in North Carolina and can't find any because they're out. The scrap's got to stop, because when people can't get to work to make money, all hell will break loose. Is this what Trump wants so he can invoke martial law, says this person. I don't think this is what Trump wants, to invoke martial law. But if people can't get to work and if the gas isn't available, right, I could absolutely see lots of trouble happening in the street. But
Yeah.
here's the good news. Let's see here. Gratitude to Grace says gas was $4.70 under Biden around here. Jamie says $3.80 in Ohio right now. G-Dog, welcome in, says it's all about perspective. It's only bad for consumers, great for producers. Oh, that's a great point. Love Runs Rampant says in Europe, gas is like $8 or $9. Hey guys, my dad paid $7.29 for diesel this morning.
South Cal.
Yeah. We saw our prices that were close to $8 in Los Angeles when Biden was president. Yeah. But here's the good news is Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says that recent spike in oil and gas prices are temporary. She adds that the current operation will lead to lower gas prices in the long term and that they will drop below where they originally were. And my only question is, this price increase transitory, which is the word they used,
Transitory.
in the Biden administration. Anyway, let's see here. It is not enough to. Oh, this was a very interesting quote. And again, there's probably a lot more to this, as to what Jen was saying. But the videos online were pretty. What's the word I would use? They just didn't paint a pretty picture. But Netanyahu was quoted as saying, "It's not enough to be moral. It's not enough to be just. Jesus Christ has no advantage over Genghis Khan. If you are strong enough, ruthless enough, and powerful enough, evil will overcome good. The mask is off. This is the operating system of the Third Temple cult." Now, again, I think this was probably taken out of context. I didn't listen to the entire speech, but I did watch the video where he said that. However, it obviously could be AI. Who the hell knows? Let's see here. Mario said California gets over $1 in sales tax at each gallon. That is sold. They're in financial trouble. Sounds like a good way to raise money. Yeah, and Mario, you know more about this than I do. From what I understand, because of the Prop 95 or whatever it is in California, that they only take specific blends of gasoline that don't come from the Texas refineries, only can come from the Middle East. And so, if true, which is, again, I read that, but because it's on the internet makes it true, right?
No.
But because I read that, that means that California would get hit, particularly hard if that's true. Instigator says gas is too expensive. Like, I can't make my 7 trips across town for Starbucks. I mean, totally. Yeah.
Right.
Love Runs Ramp says transitory. I'd be happy to never hear that again. Yeah, right. That's what I thought too. Let's see here. China has suspended fertilizer exports. While farmers in the United States and Australia face shortages, the Chinese government has instructed exporters to halt all overseas shipment of fertilizer blends. This is really important. This is where I think we could really suffer as a country, not so much in the fuel, but in the fertilizer. Maybe it's because I live in, agricultural country, but we have stripped our topsoil by the way we farm for so many years. If you don't have big fertilizer, you ain't growing anything, right? I mean, I'm not talking about a little farm like B&I's, what I'm talking about is, the big industrial farming. They could be in absolutely big trouble. This is not just an energy crisis, it's a food crisis in disguise. So the Gulf shutdowns, the UAE, the Shah and Habsha gas, zero production. In Qatar, the Ras Laffan, heavily damaged. Output's been halted. In Saudi, 20% of the refineries are not producing. In Kuwait and Bahrain, they are also down. Iraq is down 70%. So no sulfur, right? No phosphorus means crops don't grow properly. The fertilizer supply collapse, risk, crop yields drop, food prices surge, inflation shock, double the crisis, right? This is...
Not to mention that it's like crap food anyway.
It's crap food, but here's the problem. We've debated this on our channel a lot about, let me put us back up there real quick. We've debated this a lot on our channel about could the world, or through rotational grazing and the healthy way, feed America? Could we do it? And obviously I don't think you could do it at just a snap. You'd have to, kind of, work your way to it. But we are not set up for a big fertilizer shock, right? We don't have the people of the original Great Depression who knew how to grow their own food.
Right.
I mean, I watch videos all the time where people can't even name the capital of the country, right? I mean, so this is bad. China also said they will always stand with Iran to protect the Iranian people. And if needed, they said this week, Xi Jinping said that the Chinese army will also be sent to help Iran. Now, again, I think this is saber rattling, but it was said. What the hell is going on? Why did Tulsi Gabbard just state Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and Pakistan are all building advanced missiles, nuclear, conventional, that can hit the United States and are becoming a threat? Is this just the acknowledgement of World War III? I don't know. Let's see here. Back up here. Postmodern Soapbox, how are you? Welcome in. Says, gonna have to start saving all that goat and chicken poop.
Yeah.
100%.
Make some tea.
Jen says California requires E10 minimum ethanol blend. AB 30 is moving it up to E15 as of 2025. LeBron Dram said, I'm scared for those people who are asleep and don't see the 7 years of plenty before famine. It's coming sooner than anyone thinks. Glad to prepare and be awake. I think it's a great attitude to have. Processed food is made from commodities, and growing those commodities takes a lot of fertilizer. It takes a lot of fertilizer. And again, I think this is a bigger issue. The fertilizer issue is a bigger issue than the gas issue. And remember, in the Ukraine, a lot of fertilizer comes out of there too, right? Let's see here. Where am I at? Right there. G-Dog says, Tulsi is preparing to be on the board of directors at big defense contractor after she's done in government. Yeah, there actually was some rumors, G-Dog, this week that she was going to resign. I didn't see anything super substantial on it, but there was some posts out there above it. Hey, Rhonda Benefield, welcome in. That make you excited?
No.
Okay. Japan, which relies on Middle East crude oil for 90% of its supply, proposes to the U.S. side of import Alaskan crude oil to reduce risks. The two countries are currently reviewing it. While it takes 20 to 25 days from the Middle East, crude oil from Alaska arrives in Japan in just 12 days. And obviously that will be at an increased price. There are now only days of natural gas remaining in Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, and Vietnam. Some may wrangle new supplies from somewhere and extend their timelines, but that will only delay the inevitable. If the Straits of Hormuz isn't open soon, these Asian nations go dark. And this is not just on the internet, guys. If you read that top text, that's a text that came to me from somebody, a very good friend of mine that I have who lives over in that part of the world. He said, and I quote, dude, gasoline is, this was yesterday, dude, gasoline is getting hard to get now. So expensive. People can't afford it. It's crazy. Laugh out loud. The government just said school is only 3 days a week now, and many businesses are having people work from home if possible. It's very interesting.
Oh,
And you know who that is, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, what? How many of my friends do I hang out with that live in Asia?
Not
One.
not many.
Yeah, one. Holy smokes, President Trump just dropped this line on Japan. Now, this really has nothing to do with gas, but it was absolutely cracked me up. He really does have ways of saying things sometimes that makes you laugh. But President Trump dropped this line. The Japanese reporter said, "Why didn't you tell Japan before the Iran war?" And he replied, "Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor?" It's got a point, right? You believe in surprise much more so than the U.S. I thought it was funny. Anyway, let's see here. Squatchy says more plastics are made from petroleum. How's that going to look? Not good. Yep. Our soil is so poor now without fertilizer and other inputs, no crops. This is exactly my point right here. And 100% instigator. I couldn't have said it better because of the way it is. And specific, if you get really into particular country, states like Iowa, right? That Nebraska, Iowa, they use so much of that stuff. I don't know how in the world you feed everybody. Let's see here. Jen says, well, I hope the Alaskans get an increase in their permanent fund dividend. Yeah. Yeah. And that Alaskan oil won't come down here, right? Instead, it's going to go to Japan. Let's see here. Gratitude for Grace says, I'm sorry. I've been praying for better food options. Not having enough chemical fertilizer might be my fault. Be careful what you ask for, Gratitude to Grace, right? You might just get it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Where am I at here? The European Union has rejected President Trump's call for allied naval support to secure the Strait of Hormuz. European Union says this is not Europe's war, and it's basically telling the United States you're on your own. Nobody wants to go actively into this war. Get rid of us here real quick. France said no, Germany said no, Norway said no, Canada said never, Japan officially said no, Australia said no, UK said no, Switzerland closed its airspace, Spain's reconsidering U.S. air bases, and Italy is refusing support. So, in turn, the United States is planning to stop funding NATO. United States accounts for more than 60% of the total NATO defense funding. Trump said the U.S. no longer needs NATO. NATO member countries aren't pulling their weight. And I find this ironic. Now, if you could think all the way back to what we were talking about earlier, about how Trump was talking about how we came to your guys' aid in Ukraine, you wanted our help. We're supposed to be, allies, and now we need your help. And just like always, you don't come to our aid, but you expect us, to defend you. Let's see here. G-Dog says, everyone will be encouraged to work remote and shorten trips. Economics will drive new contracts with American firms to export natural gas to Asia. Nito says, a push to open ANWR in Alaska. Frank Spees says, I ate my first stinging nettles today. Great stuff. Salad or boil them and put them in cider vinegar. Cool. We can remediate the land, but it's slow going and not able to take care of the country's food needs. Yeah, again, Lubber and Jump, this is what we were talking about. I think we can get there, but it ain't going to be a light switch, right? Hippocrates says, and this is exactly why I took a 140-acre field out of our farm lease. At minimum, it won't be poisoned this year, beginning to heal, so maybe something can be grown there in the future. Lisa How Are You says, sneaking in at the end, we'll watch the replay tomorrow. Didn't he say that last term? Yeah, he did say that last term, actually, that he was going to leave NATO. But it seems to be there's a lot more on that now. But I won't read this because I want to get through some more slides before we get there. But basically what it's saying is this, that, Europe basically said, nope, you're on your own, and Trump's pushing back. And I believe that the United States will leave NATO at some point here. But it didn't last long, just so you guys know. Let me see here. Yeah, I'm not going to read that. Trump says he's not afraid of putting U.S. troops on the ground in Iran, FYI. And I'll tell you that today, as I was finishing up the live and I was loading everything, then he came out and said he thinks he's going to end it rather quickly. So it's really hard to understand what's actually going on. So you got to kind of track, the actual, movements for let me go back one. Back one, tag. Major developments: the United States is sending its most powerful naval armada straight into Iran conflict in the Eastern Mediterranean. The USS George H.W. Bush is set to join the U.S. Gerald Ford and the USS Abraham Lincoln, which would be a third aircraft carrier. If we were trying to tone down the war, if we had air superiority, right? If we had taken out all of their missiles, why are we sending a whole nother battle group to the area, unless they think there's a whole lot more threat, or maybe they're just relieving one of the other ones? I guess that would make sense too, right? Sorry guys, my computer's blowing up. Let's see here. The USS Boxer, USS Comstock, and the USS Portland, carrying the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit, has departed the West Coast. That's 4,400 additional Marines. The U.S. is accelerating the deployment of approximately 8,000 additional Marines and sailors to the Middle East in a show of rapid development. Again, they've got two of those now. The USS Tripoli, which is a 5,000 personnel group, and the USS Boxer Amphibious Ready Group, which the 4,000 group, is en route to the Iran front. Now, a lot of people just say this is to control one particular island, not the whole country of Iran. But again, we'll never know, right? Mark Baldwin, welcome in, by the way. Let's see here. Where are we? All right, there we go. Mark says, red wiggle earthworms and wood chips. You don't need chemical fertilizers. You choose chemical fertilizers, and your soil becomes addicted to it. Again, I don't disagree with you, Mark. What we're talking about is, how do you feed the world? Right? That can absolutely be done on a small scale, but can that be done at a scale quick enough, large enough, that could offset a fertilizer shortage tomorrow? And the answer is no, it couldn't. It would take time to do those kind of things. Grateful Hearts Rant says, seems that there is a bigger divide between the U.S. and NATO now. Yep, 100% there is. Let's see here. Mario says, how long do you think this war in Iran is going to go on? I think that the United States of America has been at war every single year except 26 years of our total existence. I would not expect this war to end anytime soon. But again, I really don't think, Mario, that the Iran war is the Iran war. I think it's the war for global dominance that takes places in places like Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Ukraine. You know, it's a much bigger thing. So, you know, I've said for a long, long time that, you know, this is a much bigger fight that's going on. And we've been at World War III for a long, long time. They just won't acknowledge it. And it's just fought differently, you know, than what we're used to. But so I would imagine the United States will still be at war 20 years from now. You know, I just hope we make it through all of that. G-Dog says, oops, right there. G-Dog says, my guess the rest of the year. Jen says, I'm sorry, I was talking to Nitos, my bad. G-Dog right there says, how many months were we in Iraq, and how much bigger is Iran than Iraq, right? Grateful Hearts Rant says, I'll call it April 15th. I was thinking April 1st, isn't that April Fool's Day?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going for April Fool's Day, because that would just
Instead of tax day.
Yeah. Final note on that is that Netanyahu also said that they will be putting boots on the ground. So Trump said he ain't afraid to. Netanyahu said they're going to, and 8,000 Marines are on the way. Let me see here. NATO chief to the European Union, he says, you are all idiots. If anyone thinks that the European Union or Europe as a whole can defend itself without the United States, keep on dreaming. Again, President Trump then threatens to leave NATO, and he says, I'm disappointed in NATO that we spend trillions of dollars on NATO. I don't need Congress for that decision. He can do it all by himself. And as soon as he starts threatening, and as soon as the NATO chief, by the way, they're running out of money. You guys probably should know that too. NATO's about broke because people are withholding their money. But as soon as that happens, guess what happens? In a dropping development, Japan, Britain, France, Germany, and Italy and Netherlands are all now pledging their support. Baby, this happened in a matter of 3 days, start to finish. 3 days, right?
It's crazy.
So apparently Europe's changed its mind. It's now going to help.
That's probably good.
In Iran. No, it's not good. We need to get our butts home and focus on the problems we have here in our country. You know, it's just like we were talking about in the whole Kansas thing earlier. You know, we sure could take cell phones out of the classroom. We could sure get rid of, you know, misgendered or whatever people on a driver's license. We can't do anything to affect property tax.
No.
We don't have any time for that.
No. They don't know how to. They just need your money. And so how are they going to stop
Right.
taking your money if they just want your money?
Yeah, it's spend, 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 spend more. People don't understand how effed the world is right now. Trump just said he's thinking about leaving NATO. Here's what happens next. NATO dissolves, 75 years of Western unity gone. U.S. pivots to new allies in Eastern Europe, India, Gulf states, Japan, Latin America, and Iran. Interesting enough. Western Europe militarizes alone. France and Germany forced to go nuclear. Russia and China get rapprochement, not allies, but no longer enemies. Europe's Islamification accelerates, and the cultural split with America. The countries America saved in World War II become America's biggest adversaries. Dollar reserve status weakens, no NATO security, no trust in the dollar. A new Cold War begins, not East versus West, America versus its own former allies. Which again, kind of lines up to what I was saying, right? And it sure seems like Trump has had no problem turning on Europe. And in fairness, like, I think you could make the argument that Europe turned on America long before that, right?
Yeah.
I think you could make that argument. NATO Chief Root tells Europe to prepare for war with Russia on a scale not seen since World War II. Russian president makes a major announcement openly threatening America and Israel. Anyone who spreads filth in the Middle East for their own interest destroys peace. We won't let them get away with it. America, stop your mischief. Sounds like everybody's happy, huh?
No. Stop
see.
that mischief.
Let's see what G-Dog has to say. Simple math. Hegseth asked for like $200 billion for this war, and we've spent $11 billion after a few weeks. That would get us through the rest of the year and 2 or 3 months to build up our inventory. Follow the money, right, G-Dog? Follow the money. Instigator says, we don't feed the world. First thing is to get out of that mentality. Feed your family, immediate and extended, then community, then maybe occasionally help further out. Own house and order first. Yeah, and Instigator, I agree with you 100%, except the soccer moms and the NASCAR dads and, you know, the triple caramel macchiato whatever ain't happening. You think they're going to go out and plant something in their backyard? No, they're going to expect me to do it and you to do it and people who have gardens to do it for them, you know? Let's see here that they're talking to each other. Jen says, in southern Colorado, where we have close friend, the natives are repurchasing land they sold off years ago, and as they do, it becomes exempt from property tax. Got to get it somewhere, i.e. you. We actually deal with that right here in the county I live in some regard. Let's see here. Intel community assesses that Russia, China, and North Korea. Again, I already read that one. Sorry, guys. Julian Assange says the goal of the war in the Middle East is to wash money out of the tax bases of the United States and out of the tax bases of European countries and back into the hands of the transnational security elite. The goal is to have an endless war, not a successful one.
Mm. Does that look like him?
Yeah.
I thought it looked a little different.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in World War III today, France and the UK discuss options for deploying troops inside of Ukraine. So now we've got America saying that they're not afraid to put troops in Iran. We've got Israel saying they're not afraid, they're going to put troops in Iran. And now we've got the UK and France talking about they need to put troops on the ground in the Ukraine. But everything's okay, I promise you. NATO considered to raise the possibility of preemptive strikes on Russia. Germany plans to convert its subway into potential underground war bunkers. Not scary at all. Mexico's decided it will send oil to Cuba. Trump's blockade has fallen, and Mexico is challenging it. Well, this will be interesting to see how this works out. Right, America's got a blockade of Cuba, and then Mexico decides it's going to go ahead and send oil and tankers through the American blockade into Cuba. No effing way. China says they have the unredacted Epstein list.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that one. Right. The world's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. I'll skip that one. Let me get rid of us so I can read that bottom one. The global economy is collapsing in real time. Fuel prices have doubled. Europe is bleeding billions, and China's oil imports have plummeted. The stock market is crashing, and the world is being pushed into a massive recessionary cycle because of this war. We're on the verge of a massive global economics collapse. This gentleman breaks down the terrifying domino effect. One strategic oil reserve dries up, airlines will go bankrupt, mass layoffs will begin, and the cost of all goods will skyrocket. And then ironically, absolutely ironically, 18 hours ago, Trump put this post out on Real Social. I don't understand it, but didn't say anything, just this picture.
I don't understand it.
Well, it's a picture of
guy?
people in New York City right about the time of the Depression, would be my guess, right?
Why do you say it's New York City?
Or a big city, right? Maybe
Okay.
maybe it's not New York.
Top hats and
Yeah, but that'd be right about the time. I don't know. Any guess, you guys out there, why this
What
post
that
would be
is?
out there? Yeah,
they're
because
all
again, there were no
dressed up.
words to it. Yeah, and if you actually looked at the post, it was actually a video, so it showed girls and boys, and it wasn't just this picture. But I found it interesting. Instigator says, "Well, no garden, soccer moms won't need Ozempic. Yeah, till they come for you." Let's see here. Oh, this is lovely. Texas, good job, Texas. Taxpayers will now pay $10,000 per Muslim child to attend an Islamic school in Texas.
Oh.
We are literally forced to pay for our own takeover. Texas has now admitted for the Islamic schools to their voucher program. This comes after Barack Obama appointed a judge ruled that they had to extend their deadline and allow more private schools, mainly Islamic schools, to apply. So basically, they felt forced to allow these Islamic schools to be part of the system, which they have vouchers down there, which means you're paying the $10,000 voucher per kid is being paid by the taxpayers to attend.
It's like a private school.
Yes, but the taxpayers are paying for it, so they're paying for these schools,
Yikes.
right? This
That doesn't
comes
seem
after
fair.
CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, which has been designated or labeled a terrorist organization by Governor Abbott in the state of Texas. This comes after they filed a lawsuit demanding taxpayer funds for these Islamic schools. They sued to make us pay them. We now have to pay them to run their indoctrination centers. This is not how this is supposed to go. It says, wow, Wall Street Apes, which is somebody I follow a lot, just says, wow, I just checked this and it's true. California has 40 million people in it. Of those 40 million people, 17.5 million pay taxes, less than half. This is why California is blue. California has become a welfare state. This is why the people who do not pay taxes in California pay some of the highest taxes in the nation. The 200 billionaires in California pay 3 to 6 billion per year in taxes. I think this is crazy. I didn't put it in the slideshow tonight, but in North Carolina, the governor of North Carolina just signed into law to recognize Ramadan from like February 19th to March 19th or something
Which is
like
like
that.
a holiday.
To recognize the Ramadan as a holiday. Absolutely insane. Let me see, where am I at here? Okay, right here. Mario says New York is going to be the equivalent to Paris in 10 years. Kathy Hochul was begging for millionaires. She dared to leave to come back from Palm Beach, Florida, because she needs their money. G-Dog says, are they dressed in suits, ties, and top hats still? Trump always had a coat and tie. Love Road Rampant says, League of Gentlemen something. Almost remembered. Showing what 1929 was like before the stock market crash. A warning? Maybe. Hey, Tambra, welcome in. Says F that. Yeah, well, that's your state. Amy says, I figured out where all the cool people are hanging out tonight. Hey, Amy, welcome in. And yes, it sounds like a Minnesota daycare. Yeah, Tambra said, we're going to vote Abbott out. Scott, what's up, buddy? Says, I thought all private religious schools didn't get taxpayer dollars. We don't in Kansas. But apparently they do in Texas. I thought this post was a very interesting post from Mila Joy. She says, I'm done. I'm 40 effing years of sweat, 2 degrees, busted my ass, raised good kids, paid every damn tax, obeyed every law, voted like they told me to. And for what? A system that laughs in our face, politicians who lie straight to the camera, promises of better days that were just bait while they cash checks and we get the bill. We built this country. We carried it on our backs. We're the suckers who still believe in hard work pays off. Newsflash, it doesn't. Not anymore. Not for honest, humble, middle-class Americans. We're not slaves. We're not slaves anymore. We're awake. We're pissed, and we're not shutting up. Who else is effing done being exploited? You mean?
No, there was a bug.
Oh, got a bug.
A bug.
I thought this was such an absolute wonderful post, and it's interesting. I deal with this right here in the county that I live in. You know, if the windows are open, you're going to get bugs when the lights on and you know it's dark outside.
That makes sense.
Yeah, just so you know. This is happening right here where we live. You know, people are just tired of it. And I think we're going to see the Great Awakening, and I just hope the Great Awakening works out, you know, for the best. And Social Security may decrease benefits paid out in 6 years. Yeah, isn't that crazy? If you know, I can tell you guys that if the amount of money that I have paid into Social Security permanently, I could have invested in a very low yield investment, and it would have yielded me about $35,000 a month at retirement. But instead, I paid in, and I've maxed out Social Security, so I'm going to get about $4,000 a month, not $35,000 a month, assuming it's all there when that day
Right.
comes for
You
me.
have to
Right.
hold
Right.
tight.
Love Runs Rampant says, and in Pennsylvania, some of the money for books, etc., go to whatever school your kid goes to. Not all the money, but some. We better do something about it. That's all I can tell you guys. Economic shock warning. Economics Peter Schiff just delivered a stark warning that's exploding on X, and his words couldn't be clearer. The dollar is going to collapse. The dollar is going to be replaced by gold, he says. And I know that Schiff is a big gold hawk, makes lots of money on gold, so take that with a grain of salt. But Schiff says central banks are buying gold, dumping dollars, and reducing U.S. treasuries, a signal, he argues, that confidence in the dollar is breaking. His blunt assessment is we're headed for an economic crisis that will make 2008 financial crisis look like a Sunday school picnic. The epic conclusion is near. Eliminate all necessary spending and start funding a 90-day supply of food, water, and medication. Make sure you have cash and crypto. Have serious conversations with your family about an exit plan if things get really dark in your area. Think something isolated, maybe even in another county. The U.S. economy is about to collapse. Alec Jones goes on to say Warren Buffett prepares for the collapse of the dollar by moving $348 billion into Japanese yen. That is crazy. Anybody knows anything? Japan has not had a really good track record as far as the yen goes. Not yen. What do they use? The yen's China. Anyway, their currency. And yet Buffett seems to think it's safer there than it is in the dollar. Let's see here. Nito says, yeah, right after I make it to my full retirement age. Right. It'll be there. Just have to get an electronic rice kernel in your hand, and then you can get your allotment of lab-grown commodities.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound good at all.
Nope, it does not. Again, this is actually from Turkey. This was a post from Turkey, so again, take it with a grain of salt. But it says the petrodollar system is collapsing day by day. Iran now allows oil tankers through the straits, but only if paid in won. The dollar's grip on global oil is over, not slowly, but now. Is it Japanese yen? Yeah, yen, not won. Okay, got it. In other news, major pizza chain, I don't know if you guys know this, Domino's filed bankruptcy. UK teeters on economic collapse. And 63 U.S. banks are now on the verge of collapse, asking for some type of bailouts because they have $517 billion in losses. So, you guys remember back in 2008, the too big to fail? If they were too big to fail back then, they're probably too big to fail now. So, you need to be generous. All you people listening here tonight, you need to be generous and break out your checkbook to help the banks. They're counting on you, just so you know.
Yeah.
They're counting on you. Edward Braden says Venezuela has the largest gold reserves in the world, currently under cartel control. Last week, Trump was negotiating with Venezuela to ship gold to the U.S. Edward, I'll actually tell you, there were a lot of news out there that they weren't preparing to. They were doing it. That there were boatloads of gold returning to the U.S. out of Venezuela. I'm trying to truck. Let's see here. U.S. House just blocked advancing a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution of the United States. It failed 211 to 207. This is insane, right? So we have $39 trillion in debt. They tried to put a balanced budget amendment out, and 210 Republicans voted for it. 1 Democrat voted for it. 207 voted against it. So you might think, well, wait a second, that would pass. No, because it would be an amendment to the Constitution. It takes 2/3.
Ah.
So apparently we're not going to get a balanced budget amendment. But we are going to get $39.13 trillion of debt as of this morning, $107 trillion in unfunded liabilities. You should be excited. We're all rich. Oh, wait, that's debt. Sorry.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool if we were given our debt back?
Yep. Dana Green says, yeah, it's called a bail-in and they keep your money. Yep. I know this is true. Go figure out why they call it a 401k plan. The answer will become clear. Yep. Nito says the same thing. Yep. This time it'll be a bail-in. Lab grown whatever. Yep. Democrats are super pissed at Fetterman. Yep. I just think it's crazy that we can't get to anything that absolutely makes any difference. Literally. The SAVE Act, this is another thing. I found it interesting. I'm not going to read all this because, again, I'm at an hour 50 already, but that it looks like to me that the SAVE Act is on hold, which would require voter ID to vote in elections. I know that some of the Republicans have even offered a just clean bill that all it does is require ID to vote, because you guys know how these bills are, right? They're full of other pork belly spending. But even in a clean bill, they don't think that it, that it will happen. So I don't know. Maybe they'll get it done. Maybe they won't get it done. But this is literally what we're spending our time in, is bombing Iran and debating on whether or not you have to have an ID to vote. And this is insanity.
And sex on birth certificates.
And right. And what sex goes on a birth certificate, and whether your kids can have cell phones. We are a mess. Scott said a couple months ago they just bailed out banks $88 billion in taxpayer money for paper silver. Well, they've been doing it a little bit. If you guys been watching any of the markets kind of behind the scenes, they've been kind of trickling doing it for some time. But we're $39 trillion in debt, and do you think that where they got the money? Where do you think they got the money to fund the war? Right? They printed it, which means your dollar's now worth less, which means the cost will go up. Forgetting about fertilizer, forgetting about all those reasons the costs go up, we're going to have an inflation spike as well. Pretty exciting. Trump says, don't worry, prices will drop like a rock. You watch, because we don't need oil or gas. This is what he says. We will have Tesla free energy is where we're headed. Nothing is going to be the same. Are you ready for the future? Supersonic electric jets, autonomous cars, and flying cars.
Lovely.
No fear, a beautiful new world. Excited?
No.
What's happening to the grid right now? This isn't just one location. In New Jersey, freeway lights started flickering all at once. And I'm getting reports of this kind of struggling infrastructure kind of happening all over. There was a power outage today at yesterday at the Denver International Airport, which left people stranded. There's massive power outages in Spain and Portugal, and there's also power outages continuing to go on in Cuba. Let's see here. Dana says good spelling. Don't know what we spelled, but rock on. Nito says as a country we already have more riding the cart than pulling the cart. Yep, we are doomed. We are doomed. Yep, Terminator says Canada is screwed since they passed Bill C9, freedom of speech is taken away. Whatever we say online or anywhere, they can turn around as hate speech and we can go to jail. Yeah, and what's crazy is like freedom of speech shouldn't be something that could be regulated, but apparently they do it, right? And that's because nobody will stand up and do anything about it. Yeah, Grateful Hearts Ranch says Tesla free energy. Interesting, he said it like that. Nikola Tesla, not Elon. I really like that, Grateful Hearts Ranch. I read Elon. Let's go back. Let's make sure I read that right. He says Tesla free energy is where we're headed. Got it. He did not say Elon. That's correct. Interesting. Good catch. Let's see here. we're about done here. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go to this one real quick. The Democrat-run Virginia legislature just voted to restrict your Second Amendment rights but not theirs. Virginia voters are blown away to find out that the Virginia Democrats are voting to exempt themselves from the new gun control measures they are imposing, and boy, did it send a shockwave through the system. There was all kinds of people out protesting Magpul, which I don't know if you guys know who Magpul is, but Magpul makes 30-round magazines, well, all kinds of magazines, but they're most known for the 30-round magazines for an AR-15. They were standing outside of the Capitol building handing out 30-round magazines.
For free?
Empty, yeah, I wish I was there. Always magazines. And then there were people standing out front with 50 calibers and all kinds of stuff. And so this will turn into a fight in Virginia.
Good
but
grief.
I think I really point this out just to say that this is going on everywhere. I don't care where we live. You guys, it makes no difference. At the end of the day, these fights are going to go on in every state, all 50 states. And the best thing we can do is have a bunch of buddies to go after it, you know, and try to stand up to it. You know, I don't know what else to do. Let's see here. Oop, wrong one. Sorry. Jen says, like a Wardenclyffe tower that Nikola Tesla was testing? Maybe. I don't know. Interesting. Dumb question. Are there non-assault weapons? Well, depends on which definition you go by, G-Dog. I would say that a semi-automatic sporting rifle is not an assault rifle because if you go back into not very many years ago, and if you looked up the definition of an assault weapon, it would say a select fire weapon. Basically, that means you could flip between like semi-automatic and 3-round burst, or semi-automatic and full automatic, things like that. And that select fire is what made it an assault weapon. Now they're saying a semi-automatic weapon is an assault weapon. So I guess it depends on which definition you want to go by. I'm going to say yes, there are non-assault weapons. I'll skip that one. I was going to talk about UFOs with you guys tonight, but I'll leave you with this last slide here at an hour and 56. So Ben Carson said, and I quote, which I really like Ben Carson, by the way, says, "I just hope our people are smart enough to realize that they're being manipulated into thinking that they're enemies just because they disagree on something. I always say if two people agree about everything, one of them isn't necessary." CIA whistleblower John Kiriko believes the CIA invented the word conspiracy theory. I hate conspiracy theories that run amok, but you know, a former CIA director is the one who came up with the word conspiracy theory. And it was a way for the CIA to discredit people by making them sound like crazy people, when in fact there was such a thing called MK Ultra, where there was such a thing called, you know, Operation Grasshopper or MK Clickwit, and the CIA did crazy, crazy stuff. Neil Oliver says that I firmly believe that the objective is to keep the population on edge, constantly anxious about what's coming next. Fear of disease, engineered shortages of money, extraterrestrial fear of the end of the world, and wars without end. The only war worth fighting now is the war we must all fight against the fear and those who sell it. And finally, we are witnessing a short squeeze on conspiracy theorists. They are now realizing the things we have known for the past 30 years in order to normalize the information, essentially removing the power we've had over them. We are not looking for the truth. We know it. We want accountability, and this is how they deny us of our goals. I think that all of this is super true. I think that we have to be careful that the constant wars, although they're going on, right, about allowing us to be distracted and to be fearful, and instead be, what's your parting words? Because I know what you were going to say. You were going to talk about control, weren't you?
Yeah, I was going to say to take control of your food sources.
Yeah.
Participate. Get involved.
Oh, we're not even up there, are we? Let's do that again. Here we go. How did I do that? Let's go to that one. There we go. I didn't realize it wasn't up there. Yeah, so B's final words were to take control, and I'll echo that. Take control. Take control of your energy, take control of your food, take control of your water, at least at some level, at least some degree. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's safety.
You got to get involved.
And you got to get involved. You got to find a way. One other note on that, and I'll tell you guys this. Community was never meant to be best friends. That was never its purpose. You know, you hope you find some great friends through all of that.
Or connect at least on some level
Right,
with a few of them.
connect on some level, but it's really not about all of that. It's about trying to work together to ensure your way of life continues. That's it.
And their way of life, and
that's right.
so and so's way of life.
That's right.
And,
So yoke up, build community, take control. Yep.
yeah.
Tag out. We'll see you guys in a week.
I was gonna say next week.
Maybe.